If you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into somebody else's plan. And guess what? Guess what they have planned for you? Not much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Uncle Marv podcast. I am your host, Uncle Marv, coming at you from the land of Florida Man. Lots of stories about Florida Man in the news. We're not going to talk about those, although I do have a couple of news bits that I do want to talk about. First of all, if you are a sports fan, let's say specifically you're a sports fan of the football team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Congratulations. The Buccaneers are headed to the Super Bowl. I like the Buccaneers, but I hate Tom Brady. So what a dilemma. Last year I rooted for the Chiefs. I don't know what I'm going to do this year. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. I do want to give a couple of shout outs. And specifically, I think I want to let's just do one shout out. So next Monday night, we are hoping and trying to plan a very special happy birthday. For those of you that have been a part of Junior Achievement, more specifically NAJAC, you will recognize the name Johnny Sweeney. There is a very special birthday happening next week. We are putting stuff together. I don't want to talk about too much what it is. I don't want to jinx it. But if you are a part of the NAJAC family, you know the name Johnny, reach out to me during the week and see what you can do to help with this very special birthday. Let's see. I actually had a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. My guest tonight, Elise Roth Tedeschi, is somebody that was from the beach. That's right, Satellite Beach. Attended school with her, and I was going to look for some news stories around the cities of Satellite Beach, Indian Harbor Beach, Melbourne. And the only one I could really come up with is that Viera continues to rise in the ranks of the top 20 master plan communities around the county. And I will have the link in the show to that for you to look at and peruse. And if you have any other news that comes up about the beach, around the beach, Satellite, or if you want to venture out and you are a classmate that I went to Palm Beach Atlantic College with, you can send me news updates and stories there, just like we did with Amy and Alan last week when we talked about Alan's art and Amy's zoo thing. I did have the link to Amy's zoo. I am pushing her to do a webcam. They possibly have a baby watch going on at the Chicago Zoo. They have otters that they think are pregnant. And otters, they're cute little animals. So since people can't be going to the zoo because of this COVID times, I'm encouraging them to put a baby cam up on the otters. So help us do that and get things going. And looks like we already have people in the chat. And wow. So nice that I cleaned up for this one. Thank you very much for your participation. So, all right. And let's see. Let me not go on with the rest of the news because I want to go ahead and get to the guest. I want to keep this short and sweet because we are going to do something different. We are going to have a post show. So once we're done with the live broadcast here, we're going to stay on and chat, answer questions, hang out, maybe have a beverage or so. But let me introduce to the stage right now, Elise. Reese, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am good. It's been a while since we chatted.
Yeah. Very much.
Very
How are
much.
you? How's everyone?
Doing good.
Amy
Doing
on
good.
there. Hi, Amy.
Yep. There's Moose in the chat. We actually have Barb hanging out with us as well.
Yep.
And it looks like we've got some people watching. So very good. Very good. So Elise, you and I had a nice, what did we talk for, an hour and a half the other day?
I know. We did.
We did. And got caught up on some stuff. And let's first tell everybody, I explained that you came from the beach with the rest of us. So
Yeah.
your history there, were you born in Indian Harbor Beach?
I was actually born in Cape Canaveral because I think Holmes was newer. So I was actually born in Cocoa Beach, but the only house I ever lived in was our house across from Ocean Breeze Elementary. I think everyone knew where my parents' house was. And yeah, I'm the youngest of four. So all my siblings went to Satellite, Carrie, Todd, Greg, and myself. And yeah, my dad was mayor of Indian Harbor Beach for some time, councilman, all that.
Really? Didn't know that.
Came out of the space program, probably like a lot of parents did.
Okay. I didn't know your dad was mayor. When was that?
Actually, when I was in high school, which was good and bad. You know, it's like I don't know.
Couldn't get away with anything, could you?
No, because I would get pulled over for speeding, and I remember they're going, "I know who your dad is," and I'm like, "Okay, so are you going to give me a ticket or not?"
Yeah, I remember having those types of conversations. It usually was on the other side, though. It was, we're going to call your mom.
Yeah, my mom, actually, a lot of people remember my mom because my mom came to Delora for home ec and taught people microwave cooking, but my parents sold tons and tons of microwaves. If you growing up had a Litton microwave, you probably bought it from my parents' store. And if you bought it, you would actually get, heck, you would actually get cooking classes. And then it led to my mom writing a national syndicated cooking column for Gannett newspapers. So she was kind of famous. She used to get fan mail, which is pretty cool.
Oh, probably like you do now, right?
No. I just get weird stalkers. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't say that. Oh, my goodness gracious. So Amy writes, I still think of her when I tend to
class wrap before cooking. Yeah, I do that too. I still cook a bunch of stuff. It's the best to cook veggies in the microwave. It's great.
You're not supposed to do that, are you?
Yeah.
Really?
I always do it like a little bit of water at the bottom, stick it in, it sort of gets that steam, put the lid on it. You get beautiful broccoli.
Okay. I don't cook anymore, so I don't have to worry about that. I never cook vegetables in the microwave. Of course, we air fry everything now.
Oh, us too.
You do?
Yeah. I swear we make like typically 3 different meals in my house. I have one son that is a vegetarian and he's 15 years old. He's been a vegetarian probably since he was 10, totally on his own. And everyone kept saying, don't bug him about it, it'll end. So I was like, oh gosh, I don't want to have to make another meal. However, I taught him basic cooking and he cooks a lot himself. My other son does not eat red meat. And so he's more chicken, pasta, carb boy. And then my husband and I switch off cooking and we order out way too much. So.
Yeah, I am sorry to say that I put on some COVID pounds. And so we decided that we would get healthy except the last time the wife tried to put me on a plan to lose weight, it did not work. So we're trying something new, and we are doing, it's not like a juice fast,
Right.
but basically we're doing all fresh juices. And
How's
you
it
know,
working out?
she's got 5 or 6 different, green juice recipes, and we're cutting out. Now, it's always been my contention that I needed to cut out sugar and soda, and
And
that
carbs.
I don't know if I can cut out carbs, but we're trying. So we're doing, on most days we can do 2 meals of juices, and then I just kind of snack on healthy fruits and nuts and raisins and stuff like that, and then I have 1 meal at night.
That's torture.
It is. So I don't know how long I can do this, but we're going to try.
Yeah.
We are going to try.
So we'll get to, I know we're going to talk about my fun with pancreatic cancer, but from pancreatic cancer, I've tons of damage to my pancreas. I still had a pancreas left and lots of damage. It's been atrophying. And so basically, it's turned me into, it's type 1 diabetes, which is your body isn't producing, right now, my body's not producing enough insulin. And I also have an antibody that a lot of people are born with, especially younger diabetics, that it's fighting all the cells that actually make insulin. So still waiting on more tests, but now I have this monitor somewhere here, and I have to start watching my sugar, and carbs are basically sugar because carbs turn into sugar unless you use them. So I cut out all carbs, and most carbs, I should say, and sugar. And I'm a total foodie, so I'm like, at least I can have butter.
Okay. Well, before we get into all that, so you saw the little video that I did for the intro, right?
I did.
So I have a little question. The one of the photos I wanted to say, so where did that one come
I think
from?
you're gonna say that. Well, so how funny, because I'm sitting at a table and I've got like all this stuff I have to put away, but I have that.
Oh, hang on. Let me
There you go.
So there it is.
I mean, it's so embarrassing. So
hold it up again. Hold it up again so that people
okay.
can see. I made you bigger. So there it is. 2020 over 40 and fabulous contest.
I got this part.
Inspiration award winner. There we go.
Woo-hoo.
Nice.
So I have to tell you first what my boys said about this. So I have 2 teenagers, one's 15 and one is 17. And my 17-year-old, I came home from this photo shoot, and my son was like, Mom, like I never wear that much makeup, like especially the eye makeup. And he goes, Mom, I think you look like one of those ladies in the, what do you call it? He's like, you look like one of those ladies that holds little kids in the basement. I was like, that's really specific.
Stop. Is he talking like a Lifetime movie?
I think probably like Criminal Minds or something. or it could be like Cruella de Vil, I have to tell you, if you know me now, I'm like, I got nominated for this. It's from a magazine, Best Self Atlanta, great people. And they nominated me for this over 40 and fabulous. And I cracked up like every time I'd say fabulous, I just crack up because I'm like, so fabulous. I mean, it's so not me. I felt like when I got to this photo shoot, I mean, there's like Mrs. Universe and like all these like beautiful, beautiful people. And I felt like the odd man out. So, but it was pretty fun. And, you know, I think the best part, I got to raise awareness about pancreatic cancer, and I'm very involved with pancan.org too. So
All right.
that
Well,
was worth it.
let's go ahead and talk about that, because you
Okay.
have been kind of on a, I don't want to say a tear, but since your diagnosis, when was that? 2012?
12.
Okay.
Yeah. So prior to that, I had the worst back pain you could ever imagine. Um, and I kept losing weight, but in my head, I was like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight. So, but I kept losing weight, kept going back to the doctor. The doctor would tell me, you know, you, you probably take too much Advil, and, like all these things. I was like, no. And so they did an MRI, but not a CT scan with contrast, which is really the only way to see this. And they discovered I had a bulging disc. They couldn't see why it was bulging. So I did all this physical therapy, didn't help. It got worse and worse and worse and worse. Fast forward like almost 8 months later, I finally got diagnosed. And I ended up switching doctors. So I switched internal medicine doctors. And I think that's always a thing. Like, yourself. And if you're not getting the right answers, you have to go, you just have to go and get a second, third, fourth opinion. And then I saw an oncologist here, ended up going to Moffitt in Tampa, and sitting in this office with like a ton of oncologists, radiation oncologists, medical oncologists, surgical oncologists, my sister and I, and a couple other doctors. And they give me this news, and they first say, so we know you want a diagnosis. I'm like, yes, just want to know what's going on. Like, why do I feel so bad? And they said, well, at this point, they said you have locally advanced pancreatic cancer. And you hear the word pancreatic cancer, you're just like, am I dreaming this? And I remember thinking that if my sister could paint my face of what my face looked like, it was just like despair, And then went on to do more tests. I actually told everyone that I was stage 3 because I thought in my head that I was stage 3. I really didn't even know the difference. And my sister even played along and just let me go with saying that to my family, because the doctor had said something about like, I'm going to treat you like stage 3. So I just assumed I was stage 3. And then when I got to Atlanta to find an oncologist that would work with my oncologist in Tampa, because you can do your chemo anywhere basically. So I did my chemo here in Atlanta, and that doctor said to me, well, you're stage 4. And I'm like, no, I'm not. You should call my doctor. And she said, yeah, you have it here in your liver. Show me that. And she's like, and you've got some spots in your chest. You got spots in your lungs. And I remember the first thing I asked her after that was like, do you think I'm going to die from this? And she goes, yes, probably so. And it was just devastating, maybe more so than it was already. And then I said, well, just call my doctor. And honestly, at that point, it meant nothing in terms of changing what my, the medical protocol that was going to happen. It meant no changes at all. We do the tour of the facility. We come back, and she goes, all right, so I talked to your doctor. I'm treating you like stage 3. And now knowing what I know, it didn't mean anything different. They weren't going to just change up everything. They still were doing what they were going to do. And but I will say this, it gave me just like a little bit of hope. And that was so important.
Right. So I actually spoke with a bunch of men back in November, because we actually celebrated Movember,
Yeah.
and it was something where talking to men about, for that particular month, we talked about prostate cancer and the fact that so many men don't go get checked, because that's something where if it's caught early enough,
Yeah.
it's usually manageable, but most men don't. And by the time they get diagnosed, it's usually on the worst side, and it's that almost death sentence. So
Yeah.
it sounds to me like, talking about stage 4, people weren't really hopeful with your prognosis.
Mhm. No, I mean, it's kind of crazy because I was hopeful. Because I think, I don't know, I think that's one thing I've always been pretty positive, pretty happy person. And my boys were in kindergarten and second grade. And, I always felt like if I died, like my husband, he could get over it. He would be okay. But my boys, I mean, that is what gave me such strength. And then in addition, I don't know if you even know this because I don't even think we even talked about this, but I grew up Jewish. It was like me and Mike Coe and a few others. And I during this journey, one of my neighbors said, "Hey, come with us to Passion City Church." And I was just kind of that mode of like I was just open to everything. And I should precursor that myself included, every one of my siblings is, my mom and dad Jewish, grew up Jewish. Every one of us married Catholics. So, and it was, I don't know, I always go food, family, guilt, same thing. And so when I first, before I actually got diagnosed, one of my son's friend's dad, his name's Dwayne, and he's like this, I don't know, 6'8", big guy, and he comes over, knocks on the door, and I don't know him all that well. I know his ex-wife very well, and he goes, "I know this may sound weird, but you've come in my spirit 3 times, and I know that I need to pray with you." And I was like, "Okay." And I was so in that mindset of like, I just need everything, like I was in so much pain at that point. So he comes and he prays with us, and I just think, wow, that's such a nice person. It's just so selfless of him to do that. And then fast forward, I get diagnosed. He prays with us again, and it's myself, my husband, and him. And so, it's like here I am with 2 big guys, and it is winter here. It's January. It's cold, and as he's praying, I feel this incredible heat go through my entire body. And, and I think if someone was telling me the story, I would go, yeah, right. But I was like, it happened to me. So, I mean, this heat go through my whole body. I mean, I was shaking. I felt like I was going to get sick. And so I wasn't even paying attention to a word he was saying. And as soon as he finishes, I like run to the restroom to go and like, I'm thinking get sick. And I look in the mirror, and then 2 seconds later, it just like goes away. But my hairline was like completely wet. And I was like, what was that? It was freaking me out. And so I come back out, and he is pacing in my house saying, "God is in your house. God is in your house." Like, I'm like, okay. And I said, "Look at me. Did you see me?" And I'm telling him what's happening. I'm like, what was that? And he's like, "That's the Holy Spirit." And this is me. I'm like, I really don't understand that because I grew up Jewish. So it kind of put us on this crazy, amazing path. And we started going to this church that my neighbors were going to. And, I felt like and it's very progressive. I mean, they have like a great band, and I never grew up in church, so I can't really compare it to anything. But
well, I can tell you that's better than the churches. I can tell you that's better than the churches I went to when I was growing up. So,
actually, Chris Tomlin, who is a very big Christian artist, was our music director. Okay. So he just kept there, and I remember he would just go, today is a great day. It's such a beautiful, and you just make you feel good already. And so, I'm going through this journey, and probably like less than a week later, I said to my husband, I go, I know this sounds weird, but like, I'm okay with all of this. Like, I just know that we're going to be okay. And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said that, because we, like, he essentially felt the same way. Like, he was like, I didn't want to say anything to you to try to make this less than what it was, but I feel the same way. So it was and it felt like every day is a gift, and this total feeling of just, peace, where they say in the Bible, a peace to surpass all understanding. That's what it was for us, big time.
Right. So just so you know, and we didn't talk about this, but I kind of have followed a little bit of the journey. So I know the story of which you're talking, and don't be afraid to say whatever you want to say. I'll let you, reveal as much as you want, but I know that, you have given a few other podcast interviews and stuff. You were in, what was it? Patient Stories with Gray Genetics, right?
Oh, that was so long. Oh, that was a weird one. Just saying, because my sister and I couldn't hear each other.
Oh, you couldn't?
We couldn't hear each other. So she was, relaying what my sister would say. It just felt like, did we say everything we were supposed to say?
I was wondering about that, because I was listening and thinking, why are they not sounding in sync? Like, like the question would be asked and it was like a translation of the question, and okay, so you hear each other. All right, well, that makes sense. But so that was a podcast, and then you did a great show on Joy FM.
Mm-hmm. I've gotten to do 2 of them. Actually, my radio interview is actually my total favorite.
Okay.
Because there were so many. I felt like I got to share like some of those God stories along the way, and I will say, coming from satellite, I tell you, I was so blown away. Just the support that I got. God, I could tell you a million different ones, but I mean, so many people would run in a 5K, or some, like, I had a friend running a Boston Marathon and put my name on their number. And do you remember Mark Mitchell?
I know the name.
He was in a band. Okay.
Yeah, the band.
So he did with Pat Rang, I think, Jim Patton. So you remember him, but Mark and I were in 10 Tones together, the fabulous singing and dancing group. And Mark had pretty long hair, and his son filmed him, and he cut his hair while being filmed and talking about like me and the impact I had on his life and whatever. It was I was blown away, because the doctor told me I wasn't going to lose my hair, yet I lost all my hair.
Yeah.
And it came back.
Came back strong.
But there was actually a day where, gosh, there's so many, Mary, I always know her as Mary Deardorff, Renee, who we talked about, Renee
Frappaport.
Carol Sanders. I'm going to just go by maiden names because I don't know their married names. Lori Hart, Glenn Grignon, Mary Swift was there, Anna Checo. Oh my gosh, I know I'm forgetting some. And some other most fabulous people. They, in the midst of my journey, they came over to my parents' house and prayed with me. It was amazing. It was really amazing. Just people, I always thought that, you know, Alex Trebek went through pancreatic cancer, and I remember him saying something like, when people like when people know that you're dying, and I think most people thought I was dying, that people tell you what you meant to them, and it's such a gift. And I always try to tell people that, like, throughout life now, because it was such a gift. I mean, I remember, oh my gosh, Greg Kirby's little
Right.
brother.
Okay.
I've known them forever. Love both of them. And Brian Kirby like wrote me the nicest Facebook message and said something about how I somehow had this brilliant conversation with him and helped him change his life in a sense. I don't know, but who knows? But I was totally blown away by it. There's just, gosh, there's just so many of those stories. So
Well,
many God stories along the way.
I think that what happens is in a case like yours, well, let me first say that one of the things that happens in these situations is that most people would choose to keep their diagnosis a secret. It's like they don't
Mhm.
want people to know. Um, whatever fears they have, whatever reservations they have of, maybe thinking that people would see them differently or feel pity on them or something like that. But
Right.
you chose to go the opposite way. And there is a sort of strength in that people can look at you as, a source of inspiration, a source of strength.
Yeah.
And it brings people together. There's two things I think in life that when you're going through certain situations, and without going too wild on this, basically your family, your friends,
Mhm.
and your faith.
Mhm.
And
And
those
fun. I'm adding that in there.
and fun, another F. Okay. So it sounds like you were able to, draw on all four of those now. I'll add the fun in. And it's something that, once I think you said something in one of your interviews, and I don't remember which one it is, that, you didn't choose to get the cancer,
Yeah.
but you can
Right.
choose how you live
Right.
with it and your attitude.
Yeah. Well, because people would ask me all the time, like, how are you so positive? And like, well, I mean, for me to be like in that super negative place puts me in a really bad place. And trust me, going on some of those like everyone has pancreatic cancer chat rooms was like so hard. I was like, I can't be on these anymore, because it is like misery loves company. And for me, it was like, I don't know, I just, and I will say this, I know that not everyone gets this gift and this miracle that I got. But I do remember thinking like along the way, and I would always say this, as you were saying, let me go back to that, is that I would say, I didn't choose to get cancer. I didn't choose to go through this, but I get to choose my attitude. And that's what I get to choose. So I choose to be happy, because I used to always think, I got two boys, and I mean, and trust me, I hated when people felt sorry for me. And I certainly did not want my kids, like my poor mommy. I was still like trying to be as tough as ever and go to soccer games and really try to have normalcy in my life. I think now for people going through cancer, I know it's hard, because COVID changes everything. No one can come and have lunch with you doing chemo or, things like that. But I did talk to one woman recently who said, I miss my grandkids. And I go, just, you got to let your grandkids come see you, because sometimes that's more worth it than, the fear of being sick and all that. But I mean, to me, I don't know, faith totally carried me through it. I mean, there were days I remember, chemo was bad. It was so fun. I got down to 89 pounds. No, it was bad, but it wasn't I mean, I always say it wasn't like so horrible because I felt like I had, this sort of, I would always, throughout my journey, I'd always talk about it, and I would always, put what's going on, and be so honest. Like there were some times where I'm like, I am so over cancer. Like I'm ready to divorce you, cancer type of thing. And I felt like I had this huge group of cheerleaders, prayer warriors. I mean, I would think to myself, like, I can't let them down. I gotta beat this, I mean, I had to beat it for my boys, for my husband, for my family, but gosh, and for myself. But you know, faith was a huge part of it.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the faith, because you were diagnosed in 2012, we didn't talk about the little journey that you had and how, less than a year later, you got to the point where you were feeling like cancer's gone, right?
Yeah, um that was so wild because what had happened was I was done. I did 12 rounds of this pretty intense chemo. And then after that, I had to do radiation. So I was actually in Tampa for 5 weeks doing radiation every day with a 24-hour chemo pump, which was actually a walk in the park compared to the big chemo. And once that was done, my doctor was like, you have to be off of, because I would go, okay. He's like, we're scanning you in a month. And I kept saying, are you sure you don't want to give me more chemo? Because I got this, And he's like, no, you got to be off of everything. You got to give your body a break. So I went off of everything for a month. And that was like probably the most difficult month because I felt like I wasn't fighting anything. And I was so emotional. And then it became more emotional when a girlfriend who I met, never in person, but we met. We should have met, but we had so many mutual friends. We would email or talk on the phone or whatever, and she had late stage 4 melanoma. So I got home. I actually went to a conference, and it's really funny because I presented at this conference. I don't remember anything from this conference. I remember little bits and pieces, but I really don't remember anything, which is like chemo brain. So anyways, so when I got back, my husband pulled me aside and he goes, hey, your friend Tara, well, she passed away yesterday or whatever it was. And I was just like, oh. And it felt like I was not only mourning her, but I was mourning for us, because she had 2 kids. Hers were like 4 and 7. My kids were, at that point, 6 and 8. And it was devastating. All I could think of is like, it's going to be bad. And I actually ended up talking to her husband and I was like, how are you doing? And he's like, the days are okay because we're busy, but the nights are horrific. And I just put me in this tailspin of crying and crying and crying. I cried for like 3 days straight. My husband kept saying, you need to pop out of this. You need to get out of this. And I kept saying to him, I'm just in a really bad place. I just kept saying that to him. So I basically pushed him out the door on, I guess it was a Saturday night. I pushed him out the door and because he was wanting us to go to a concert. And I was like, I'm not going to this concert. And I was, pretty weak. And I was like, you go. And I pushed him out. And so put my kids to bed. And that night I literally cried and prayed till I woke up. And then that morning I look at my husband and I go, I'm okay. And he goes, yeah. And, he probably knows, like, thank God she's not crying anymore. And I said, no, I'm okay. And I said, I have really good dreams. I don't remember what they were about, but okay. And then I said, I don't think I have cancer anymore. And he just was like, looked at me, I go, I don't know. That was the words that just came to me. And so I felt this peace. And then that was like the first time going into scans where you don't have that scan anxiety and you're like freaking out. And I used to yell at everyone the night before, and then we pray together and then we're okay. But I was like kind of the first ones that early on like that, I wasn't stressed out. And that was like 2 weeks later from that point. 2 weeks later, I had scans, and the doctor walks in, and we do the song and dance of like, how you doing? I'm like, I don't know. How am I doing? And he said, well, and they had done a PET scan. And he goes, nothing lit up in your PET scan. You have absolutely no active cancer. So like whatever God gave me to, like, he was right on. And I really, honestly, I remember thinking to myself, like, even if I still have cancer, I'm still going to believe that I'm okay. So, yeah, was
and when was
amazing.
when was that scan?
That was October 4th, 2012, which is like, if you read anyone's like story on pancreatic cancer, it's kind of unheard of to go from stage 4 to no cancer in that amount of time.
Yeah, and we're talking 9 months.
Mm-hmm. It was amazing. It was.
It's just weird because what's the prognosis for people normally with stage 4?
So you want to hear something weird? When I got diagnosed, they told me you have less than 9 months to live. Mm-hmm. So I got diagnosed January 5th and clear October 5th, or October 4th. And I said, I was supposed to die tomorrow. Is kind of how I put it. And I'm like, I knew it was, I truly felt like I got a miracle by far. And I will say this, how crazy is this, that even in the midst of the journey, in the midst of like where I really looked bad, I really felt bad, there was one point that my entire mouth was sore, was like a big sore inside. I could not eat. And I still felt so much joy. That's only God.
Incredible. I do want to, before it gets too late, I want to acknowledge somebody else in the chat that hasn't gone through the exact same story as you, but was also somebody who was not supposed to be around as much as they are now. But Todd, the Overcomer Shoemaker, and put a note in here saying, I can totally relate. I shared a lot of goodbyes with family and friends before Jesus helped me. I was told I only had 2 weeks to live. Attitude is so important. And Todd was, he's been on a couple of my shows, both on my tech show and on this show. So another story.
I need to listen to that one.
Yep.
That's amazing. That's so funny, the overcomer part, because my pastor, by the way, I got baptized in the midst of all this craziness, but my pastor is Louis Giglio, and he has a book out, The Comeback, and I am chapter 12.
Oh.
So that was really cool.
There you go. I'll have to I don't have that link, so we'll need to get that. Chapter 12. I've got links to all your other stuff, including your open letter to Alex Trebek. That since you kicked cancer's butt, you sent a message to Alex to tell him to also kick the butt. What was that like?
It was kind of like, once the news was out that Alex had cancer, I would tell you, everyone sent me a text or a message or called me. Even my sister called me, which I thought was pretty funny. I'm like, I have him on speed dial. And so anyways, long story short, I belong in this group where there's a bunch of publicists, a bunch of people that represent people. And I reached out to everyone and said, hey, I'm a stage 4 pancreatic cancer survivor. Does anyone know how to get in touch with Alex? And the person that was she was the editor for dailymeal.com, ended up, she said, hey, if you write a letter, I'll publish it. And I'm like, okay. And so I had gotten home from work and about to go to bed. My husband's like, put your laptop away. And then I take it out again. And he's like, what are you doing with your laptop? And I go, I got to write that letter. Because if I don't, I have to write it tonight because I have to send it to her before, 7 in the morning or whatever it was. So I end up sending her this letter at like 3 or 4 in the morning. And he's already asleep. My husband's already asleep. So I can't even read it to him. And I'm like, okay. So and I wrote to the editor and I said, as you see, I'm sending this at 3 in the morning. Please feel free to make any changes. And she goes, I just made one common change and you were all good. And she published it by 10 a.m. And I will tell you, there were probably more satellite people that were like, oh my God, I opened MSN.com and you were on there. So it hit MSN.com and it just, my phone started blowing up and it was wild. I never expected that. And it went incredibly viral. I think it was Mary Dierdorf that sent me a video because, you don't know what it's going to be on, right. But Kathy Lee read it on when she was on Kathy Lee and Hoda. It meant so many things. It was amazing. And I think it was so good that it got it out there. I think Alex for really being public about his journey too.
That was really good. I've got a couple of those links. It's still up there. CBS News has it in a couple of other places. So a very inspirational thing here. Getting a lot of activity in the chat there. So I want to go back. Somebody wrote chemo brain is a real thing.
Oh,
and
yes.
Then a true miracle, especially.
That's my sister-in-law, who is like one of my prayer warriors. And she's the one that when Dwayne came and prayed with me that first time, she was right there. And she's the one, this is the best part. She said, oh, by the way, Elise is Jewish, so you may not want to use the whole Jesus thing. And I was like, no. Say what you want to say. Pray how you normally pray. I'm opening my heart to everything. So, and Carla's on there. I see that. And yep. She's like the strongest person on the planet.
Wow. So you mentioned Damon. Is that the name? Is that the doorman that you said that that you didn't know at the time and stopped you to pray?
Oh, no. Dwayne was the one that came to my house and prayed with us. He prayed with us twice. And then, obviously more than that, but no, at Passion City Church, they have, if you volunteer, they call you a door holder. And I do that too. I'm actually on the prayer team, even though I have not gone to church in a while because of COVID. But my husband and I, we go for the first time, right? And we go and we sit down, and this door holder, I've never seen this happen. And I still to this day don't know who it was, but she comes over and I tell you, it's amazing. I still am like chills about it. So she comes over and says, can I pray with you all? And we're talking like my diagnosis was days old. And I couldn't even get the words out. And then I start crying. And my husband's like, my wife, even when I say it now, I want to cry. But my husband was like, my wife was just diagnosed stage, with pancreatic cancer is what he said. And she prays with us. And that, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Mm.
That's so funny. Rosie says, I hate that. I said that, but it allowed me to also say, she said, because she's the one that said, you may not want to use the whole Jesus thing because Elise is Jewish, but however, I would have probably never said out loud, I'm opening my heart to everything. So that was for a reason.
Okay.
So,
All right. We are coming up on the hour, so we're going to end off the show, but I do want to let people know that if you are in the chat and watching with us, we are going to stay after we close out the show. So if you have questions, comments, Elise has offered to stay on. I don't know how long we'll stay on. I don't know. We're broadcasting both.
midnight. I'm just kidding.
Can't do midnight. We are broadcasting live on YouTube and the Facebook. I don't know how long we can stay on. I think I've been able to be on a couple of hours, so we do have time. But if you are listening to this through audio, or you are sort of catching this towards the end, you can go back and catch the full replay if you head over to unclemarv.com. And once this show is published, all of the informations will be there in terms of the episodes. Both the audio and the video will be there. And just so that you know, I'm just putting across the screen, we are going to be here every Monday night at 8 p.m. And to make the link easy, if you just want to remember unclemarv.com/live, you'll get whatever video feed is there. Of course, you can stay subscribed in YouTube or the Facebook, and you'll get notifications when we go there. And again, if you go to unclemarv.com, you can check all the backlog of episodes. The episode with Todd is Shoemaker is on there as well. So that'll be good. Now, one thing I want to do before we go off is I'm going to also put across this thing at the bottom. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Kendra Scott?
So they partnered with PanCAN, which is the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. I'm the affiliate coach here in Atlanta, but they have so many. So if perhaps you happen to know someone that unfortunately gets diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, send them there. They have so many. They have so many services. They have patient services, help you find a doctor. They'll actually test your tumor tissue to determine which is the best chemotherapy for you. So if you shop, and it's on this Thursday and Friday, and who does not love Kendra Scott? Actually, my necklace is Kendra Scott. I love it. And just go to kendrascott.com, but you got to use this code give back, and it's -ORQS. It's on my Facebook page. It's, think about it. In a couple weeks, it'll be Valentine's Day. So get your sweetheart something sweet.
Yep. So that is there. I'll have the link for that as well. This Thursday and Friday, January 28th and 29th, kendrascott.com with the code word giveback no, that's a dash. Giveback -ORQS.
Yep.
So, or of course you can go to Elise's Facebook page and find that. So, all right. So stop sharing that. Get back here, there, and there. All right. So, Elise, anything else that we missed? I know that it's tough trying to cram all of this in an hour. We didn't even talk about a lot of stuff from back home, and all the friends and family. We'll probably have to do a part 2 at some point, and maybe get some of these people on and hear their times with you. All these people, I know just about every one of these people.
I think they'd all say, Elise knew where all the parties were. And I think everyone remembers my student government barbecue the end of my senior year.
Okay, here's a question before we go. I know here's the thing. You were only 1 year behind me, right? Okay, I don't remember all of this. I don't remember you, because I was in 10 tones. I don't remember you in 10 tones.
I was not in 10 tones my sophomore year.
Okay. So your junior year, you were in it?
Wait, did you graduate 84 or 85?
85.
Okay. I don't know. I was in it my junior and senior year.
All right. So you just didn't see me when I was in Texas? Was I that hard to miss?
Oh my gosh. And
Student government. I mean,
Blake Menzel was my partner.
okay. All right. And I know,
I think
and
I
we
was
had,
in junior year. Now I'm like thinking about, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I wasn't. No, I know I was. Mark Mitchell was in it.
I don't know. And I don't see, I was in it with, so there was Alan Crouch, redhead Heather. Let's see who else.
Yeah, I remember her.
Karen the Zek. Who else was there? Michael Whiteside.
Yeah, Michael was in it when I was in it.
Okay. Yeah, you just must not have seen me.
How is that possible? I don't know. We have to go back and look at our yearbooks and like, don't look at my pictures, but.
Well, here's the thing with yearbooks. You can get away with it because people will see your picture and be like, wow, you really changed. Look at you. You look so good. People will look at me.
I ate my feelings in high school.
What was that?
I said I ate my feelings in high school.
And people will look at me and go, yeah, you look the same.
That's a good thing.
That's
a really good thing.
Sometimes it's not. All right, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and end off the show, and we'll talk later about you coming back, and we'll get some of these people on, and we'll share stories. We'll figure out the 10-tone years and see who was in where, and do all of that. And again, those of you that are watching, be sure to stay with us after the fact and hang out with us in the post show. That's going to do it for this episode of the Uncle Marv podcast. Head over to unclemarv.com, get all the information, all the places where you can listen to the show, all the places where you can watch. And until next time, holla.
Did you write that? Good.
What?
Did you write that? I like it.
Did I write that? No, I yanked that off some site. It's one that I actually have the license.
Oh, Amy, you have to stay on for the chat.
What was that?
Amy went off. I was like, Amy, you got to stay on.
Oh, because you know why? Because she's so used to when the music plays, they all go.
So go.
All right. So I meant to, what else was I going to try to do? Todd had put something else in here. Todd, if you're still here, let's see. Let me go back up in the chat. The chat was very active tonight. Oh, here we go. He wrote, check out the book, Raising the Dead by Dr. Chauncey Crandall. Powerful book. I am not familiar with that. Have you heard of that book?
Mm-mm.
All right. So Raising the Dead by Dr. Chauncey Crandall. And you know what I was doing is when you were talking, I was actually over here looking for music from Chris Tomlin, but then I realized I can't play it.
Aw.
Can't play the music in the background. So
So good.
All right. So Amy's staying.
Good.
Let's see. Roseanne Roth. Greg Roth made a DVD recording of a 10 Tones videos and jazz band. So Rose is from Satellite too?
Roseanne, I don't know what. Roseanne, what high school did you go to? I don't remember. But they both live, she's married to my brother.
Okay.
She's like best. And they live in Rockledge now.
Okay. All right.
I feel like she went to a local high school, but I don't know which one.
Hopefully. Or else, how else would she know 10 Tones?
Oh, because my brother totally tried to embarrass me family wise. We have this family or messaging, chat, and my brother was trying to embarrass me.
No.
But he found it because it was at my parents' so my brother took over my parents' business. So
all right, she responded Rockledge. So,
Oh, he asked her. He asked her.
okay. So she wrote in, I don't know 10 tones. He asked me to type that. So you got family listening. She also wrote up here earlier. Why would she say something like, tell them about your baptism? Is there a weird story there? Funny story? Crazy story?
I can tell you this. It was wild. I mean, I think she's referring to this. It's the only thing I can think of. But I mean, it was very emotional and it was amazing. But if you looked at the video, there was like these two that I'm trying to remember. I haven't seen it in a while, but there was like these, two like swirling things that were in the video. And then once I was off, they were gone. So it was really wild. So we always kind of, we're always trying to figure out like who was that. And so you probably know, you graduated with my cousin, Suzanne Fleckner.
Yes.
You remember her? So that's my cousin. Her dad died the summer before I got diagnosed.
Hmm.
So it was very,
It's a question from Wendy.
okay, I'll share.
I'm an oncology nurse with Orlando Health. I was wondering what treatment you received, if you don't mind sharing.
I did 12 rounds of FOLFIRINOX, which is like 4 drugs. And then I did stereotactical radiation along with a chemo pump of 5-FU. And then my tumor was actually inoperable. And it was still inoperable even when I got sort of the clear PET scan, but it was still 2 centimeters. And so I ended up doing it was wrapped around the major artery. So trust me, there were surgeons that were absolutely willing to do surgery on me, but my doctor was like, no, you need to have, clear margins. And so I ended up doing, at that time, a really cutting edge surgery called IRE. So it's just as invasive. That's the whole thing about pancreatic cancer. You just want to get to surgery. And I had what's called the IRE. So it was like a big zipper cut down, like my 12 inches down my belly. And he went right through my belly button, by the way. But they go in and they take these prongs. It's also called, IRE stands for irreversible electroporation. And so they go in and they take these prongs and they shock the tumor. And it basically pokes holes in all the bad cells. They fill with calcium and they naturally have cell death. So I did that. And then I did Xeloda post surgery, which I hated that stuff even more so than the other stuff. So
interesting. So we didn't get too specific about the tumor. So sounds like it shrunk.
Yeah, it was 7 centimeters when they found it.
Okay. And it shrunk down to 2.
Shrunk down to 2.
Did they go in and remove the rest of it, or did they just leave it? And
so that's what they had, this IRE, where you basically, the cells have cell death. And it's not completely foolproof because I've seen people have recurrence, but it was my only option. And so, all my scans after that would show that it was pretty much gone. So, and like all my other, like liver, everywhere else it was, the chemotherapy basically did that. But I saw that my numbers were going down, like into more of a normal range, because they do the, the tumor marker tests where it's a blood test. And if you have a high number, you have very active cancer, and it goes down into a normal range. Mine started to come closer to that normal range when I was doing radiation and chemo. So.
All right.
I got pretty scars.
I believe you. I believe you. Interesting. Okay, Amy writes, Y'all did Anything Goes with 10 tones. I'm going to probably have to say no.
Anything Goes. I was in that. It was a musical.
Oh.
I played the old lady.
So 10 tones were doing musicals after I left?
Yeah. It was all fun when you left. I don't know.
Or that, or they're like, oh, we can't do this good stuff with Marvin in the band.
Well, you know what's crazy is that now they have like they have an auditorium at Satellite, and
Yeah, I saw that.
we never had that. I don't even know where we even did that. I mean, I'm trying to remember, maybe like the Melbourne Auditorium or something. I don't remember.
All I know is that I tried to take my nephews there a few years ago, and I wanted to take them onto the campus of Satellite, and
Yeah,
there's
it's
gate.
like jail.
You can't get in.
I've done the same thing with my boys.
And so the other reason, so you know what, I haven't done this. I should probably have asked this publicly. So my sister claims that my name is still on the wall in the weight room, which I don't believe, because there cannot be a way that I would still be holding a record at Satellite. So I've been wanting to try to find a way to get over there or have somebody check and see if that was true. I don't even remember what I was up there for. So that was another reason I wanted to go and see if we can get in to do that. But I don't know anybody there. Like, Low is
isn't the principal like? Isn't the principal like he was? I don't know. I want to say like a science teacher or something back then. I never had him.
I don't know. All the science teachers I know. Let's see. I had Skellett. He's no longer with us.
I know. I loved him.
I had, what was the lady's name?
Miss Rice. Did you have her?
I don't think I had her.
Miss Baldwin.
Yes, Baldwin. I had her.
There's funny stories about that.
Yeah, I almost got suspended in her class. we did stupid things. We all did. So like she walked in one day late, and so we all got up and left. And we ended up walking through the other science class instead of walking out through, because she was on the edge, on the outside by the parking lot in the gym. So we ended up walking out the other science class through his class, right in the middle of his class.
Okay, I got to tell you my favorite memory. One of them. I always loved all the classes. I mean, I loved our class, but I especially loved class of 84, 85. And I was, in my sophomore year, I was in student government, and we had, we called him Chief Geronimo, right? And I don't know, someone brought like liquor Jello shots or something to class, and we all decided to go to Delora and Carol, and he just totally let us go. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. Rusty Ketchum was president at that time.
Pruitt is principal at Satellite now?
I don't know who that is.
I remember the name.
I don't think it's.
I know the name, but I don't think I ever had a class with Pruitt. He was in a portable.
Those portables.
Wait a minute. Pruitt, was he really science or math?
Oh, I don't know.
Was he like the trigonometry guy?
There was one guy, he was a coach.
Well, Geronimo was the coach. But Geronimo didn't teach science. Did he teach some like weird economics class or whatever? Okay, Mr. Pruitt, was in math at Delora.
Oh, I remember. So he's.
So he moved up to Satellite.
It may not be the same one.
Okay, yeah. Somebody needs to help us do the research and find out, because I need to get on the campus of Satellite at some point. I want to go in there.
I do remember in my 10th grade year that I think it was, I I know I had Mrs. Yurturo or Miss Baldwin. No, not Miss Baldwin. Mrs. Yurturo or Miss Maltby. Remember her?
No.
For it was like algebra 2 in my sophomore year, and all I remember, it can't be poor because he'd be like 80. So anyways, I remember that, that was the outside campus and we were upstairs and the teacher left for a minute and one of the seniors in the class mooned someone and broke the window.
Oh,
that was priceless with his butt.
All right. You know what we also didn't talk about is you're outside of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And I go up to Atlanta at least once a year, if not twice a year. So I know that there were a bunch of people up there that we need to figure out a way to do a meetup up there. And it's just
by that time, COVID will be gone.
Huh?
Hopefully by that time, COVID will be gone.
I hope so.
I'm so ready to hug people. I mean, if anyone knows me, I'm the biggest hugger and I hate not hugging people. So I hug my 2 boys and my husband all the time. But there's a ton of people up here. Tara Van Wagen.
Oh, chatted with her the other day. And
you did?
On the messenger thing. Yeah, I worked up the courage. I did it.
Lori Colbolt used to live here. I don't know if she still lives there.
Yeah. Ellen Aiken was manager of a restaurant up there. I don't think she is anymore.
She's not. I went in there and I complained that she wasn't there.
And then I've got a couple of business associates up there as well. I've got some junior achievement people and some others. So we'll have to figure out a way to segment the groups. Or we just do a big Uncle Marv meetup. Everybody should be able to like everybody else.
Oh yeah, that'd be so fun.
But your area again is so my peeps, my family is up in the Woodstock, Marietta, Ranger area. So it's kind of like the northwest side up there.
So I'm that too, but I'm closer to the city.
Okay.
So I'm in Smyrna, which is the home of Julia Roberts. It's where she grew up. Pretty cool.
No, it's not her home now, so.
No. I think her mom still lives here.
Look at Amy. Bunch of us 4.5 hours away in the Carolinas.
Renee Frapert lives up here. She lives in Alpharetta.
Alpharetta.
Peggy Gay lives here, but she's more north. I'm not sure where she lives.
And Todd just said a lot of PBA alumni up there as well. Okay, so we'll have to find out who all from PBA is up there. Big old hangout. So definitely COVID better be done by. So I definitely go in December. And so the wife's original last name is Steele.
Okay.
And well, I shouldn't say I said that wrong. No, it's Steele. And then she got married. I don't say that name as much. And then she got married to me. So her son is in Ohio and her brother moved to Atlanta. So I've never told this whole story, but so she moved to Atlanta in 2004 to work with LA Weight Loss. And they were going to open up that market. And she went up there as the number 2 person in that organization. And for 2 years, she was up there. And so when that happened, her brother moved down because his wife at the time became one of the store managers. So Kim was kind of like the regional director over all the stores. And so that's how her family got to Atlanta. So even though she moved back here after I told her enough, get home. So we still, that's basically central. So her family comes from Ohio and Carolina and meets in Atlanta. They actually, her brother he's not completely done, but they have a cabin that's almost done. And that's where they want to have
the cabin.
What was that?
It's a party at the cabin.
A party at the cabin. Actually, so the opening video from the last couple of shows is me at the cabin.
I saw that. That's
doing
great.
that. So there's a lot of stuff happening. So I go up there in December, and then they usually try to do something in the summertime. I don't always make the summertime one, but definitely, folks, when we're up there, I will let you know. I will start to let people know ahead of time when I travel. Everybody complains that normally I just get there and then I tell everybody I'm here, and that doesn't give people enough time to plan. So
I saw you post a picture of you and Carol McKenna.
yes,
Love her.
yes. We so the wife was getting stir crazy during the COVID, and as the state of Florida was opening up, our area, South Florida, was not, because we're crazy. So we could go over to the West Coast and hang out. So we actually coordinated a I'm sorry. So we coordinated a visit over there and had lunch with Carol and her husband over there. And I'm sorry for laughing, but I'm so we've got Barb, who was on the show about 2 months ago, who's hanging out in the backstage area. And when I made the comment about just showing up and announcing that I'm there, she wrote, "Or you don't come visit at all."
Oh.
And the reason for that, Barb, is you live in New England, up in Massachusetts, and it is cold. It is cold up there way too much. So there's like a 90-day window that I can visit and be comfortable, I think.
Well, you should go up there in the summer and go to Martha's Vineyard. It's so beautiful.
I can't afford Martha's Vineyard.
You just go like out of season.
I probably still can't afford it. Isn't that expensive? Isn't that like rich people areas?
It is.
Hey, Barb, are you backstage? Come on so I can ask you these questions. Are you there? I can add her. Can you hear us?
Hello. Yes. Hey. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. Yeah, right, no, but you'll send me a note. Hey, I think I'm going to have a conference in Boston, and then I never hear from him again. Can you help me find a venue? Sure. Where do you want to go? How many people? What do you need? I'm right here to help. And then he just vanishes off the face of the earth, and I don't hear from him again for months. But yes, we can get you a jacket. People do dress warm for the weather. Mittens, scarves, but you could come in the summer. It does hit, 90.
I am.
It can be like hotter there than even, well, I don't know, necessarily hotter than Florida, but it's hot. Barb, where do you live in Massachusetts?
I'm in Burlington, so I'm northwest of Boston, about 12 miles.
My husband grew up in Newton.
Oh, not far. I know where that is.
He went to high school with Matt LeBlanc. He has a scar like on his chin from Matt LeBlanc. I told him he should. Too bad statute of limitations probably. No. He went to high school with Louis C.K. and who else? Like one of the guys in Belle Biv DeVoe, Ronnie DeVoe.
Yeah, it was funny when you were talking about Julia Roberts. Amy Poehler is from Burlington, and her parents still live here.
Sweet. It's funny.
Do you go visit them?
No, but I know where they live.
All right. So somebody asked, Marvin, when are you coming to Melbourne to visit your mom? So I haven't. So here's the problem. Mom has cancer again. So she was diagnosed with cancer many, many years ago, had the mastectomy and all that stuff, and was pretty much okay. And about, I think it was 4 years ago, it came back, which was okay until the COVID. So ever since then, her doctor has said no visits. So there has not been any visitation for a year. Now, we did actually get to do a mini Christmas. The doctor told her she could travel, but that we all had to do the quarantine thing. So we had just traveled to Georgia, and I think the 14 days was after Christmas. So she came to visit my sister and the nephews. So she stayed there, and I got to go over for about 2 hours the day after Christmas and hang out with her. But he did not want anybody traveling to Melbourne to visit her. So we've not been able to do that. We are hopeful that we'll be able to do, we normally do a birthday celebration. That's one of the trips that I do to Melbourne with. So all the 3 boys in the family, me and the 2 nephews, our birthdays are all within 30 days of each other. So the youngest is in February. Then my oldest, Aiden, who works with me, mine's the 15th, his is the 17th. So we usually do a visit in March to celebrate the birthday. So that right now is my tentative next trip to Melbourne.
There are some amazing doctors at Dana-Farber for breast cancer in Boston.
In Boston.
So maybe.
Actually, you know what's funny is I haven't talked to my mom about this in a while, but she's not doing any chemo this time. She's got her own alternative plan that she's working.
Okay.
I wish her the best.
And like I said, it's been probably 4 years now. So
She's doing something right.
yeah, but unless she wants to talk about it, she ain't telling me. I'm not going to ask her. We'll see.
Yeah, I will tell you this. When I was going through cancer, my sister was like, she's a lawyer, but she absolutely was my medical advocate and my nag all together. She was amazing.
All right. I'm still going through the chat because I know we missed a bunch of stuff. Speaking of Stephen, have you done a show to share best stories? You know, I had not thought about that. That is something interesting. So Stephen Powell, one of my best friends growing up, unlikely pairing because Stephen, although he liked sports, couldn't play a lick. And and Stephen was a part of the Brain crew that somehow I got associated with. Stephen, Chris Snyder, John Vermillion, and all those real brainiac people. And somehow when I got put into the gifted program while at Holland, I would end up with them sometimes. So Stephen was a very, very good friend, very good guy, was always over at his house, and got some great stories to share about Stephen. So we'll think about doing that. So Amy, thanks for mentioning that.
Didn't you get some kind of like superlative at Delora?
Superlative?
Like best looking or one of those? You got something.
No, I think I got best couple with Tony Scott. Because I think at that time we were out of the 10 black people in the school, Tony and I were so hey, they're black, they're cute, they're funny, we like them, let's put them together. And I hope that's her name.
Cutest couple.
Yeah, cutest couple.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
I do remember that Jill Kelly beat out me in like 9th grade by 2 votes for a best dressed.
Best dressed.
I was fancy back then. No. I don't know.
Wow. Amy, I have no idea Amy, you're either writing drunk or something. What is Dude, I had a crush on I in junior high. Oh, I'm not going to put there. Oh, well, you know what? It's out there, Moose. It's out there. Wow. I can't answer that publicly.
Amy, who was your crush?
Looks like it was me.
Aww. Or maybe it was me.
Listen,
Amy and I have a fun story though.
talk about some stories. I know that she's going to hate this because it's the story we bring up all the time. So Chris Snyder, Chris Niket, and all the crew that would hang
Chris
out.
lives up here, I think.
Huh?
Chris Niket lives up here, I think.
Oh, he does?
Yes, but
All right. Hey, I'm in the same company with Billy Joel. So what does that tell you?
I was in love with Bruce Springsteen.
I have no idea. And Amy, you may have to remind me because I really don't remember what happened. But I do remember that for some reason we always had this thing about going to Becky Rusom's house and doing stuff on her roof. Like we would have, times where we would just go take their picnic tables and put them on the roof and we would eat on her roof. And something happened where Amy upset me for whatever reason. I don't remember, but we decided to disassemble her bicycle and throw it up on the roof and left it there. And I remember she had to figure out a way to get on the roof, get her bicycle stuff, and then she had to walk home because we had left her. Interesting.
Nice.
So Amy put the wine away. we won't share any more stories.
You took my entire 10 speed and put over jackass. Oh, nice.
All right. Well, I think on that note, why don't we call it a night? Well, Elise, thank you very much for hanging out and sharing your story. Like I said, we do need to do a part 2, so we'll talk a little bit later about getting that set up. Barb, thanks for hanging out in the backstage area.
Thank you.
In the green room, folks. If you would like to participate, head over to unclemarv.com, hit the contact page, send me a message, and let me know. I do have a list of people that we're trying to reach out to. I'm trying to use backdoor channels to get certain people and figure out ways to do things. So if you've got somebody that you'd like to hear on the show, you'd like to come hang out, this is probably going to be the format going forward. We'll have a little show. I'll talk to 1 or 2 guests, and then we'll do the post-show happy hour, apparently, with Amy and her wine.
We should have like a bit, aside from this, we should have a big Zoom call, a Zoom happy hour. It'd be so fun.
I'm working on that as well.
That'd be fun.
I am working on that as well. I actually, I have to do a couple of, I can say this much. So last year I had to start a diversity session with all the George Floyd stuff. So I got to finish up those, and then I'll open up to some happier Zoom sessions. So we'll do that. All right, folks. Thank you everyone for hanging out. Thank you. Those that are still there, Amy, Wendy, Todd, all of you, thank you. Again, we're here every Monday night, 8 p.m. till whenever. So be safe, everyone. Mask up, and we'll see you next time.